After his mother's sudden death, young Charles Jordan discovers a shocking secret. His father, presumed dead, is alive and a powerful tech tycoon in California. Driven by betrayal and longing, Charles embarks on a perilous journey to uncover the truth. As he delves deeper, dark family secrets and unexpected dangers emerge. Faced with threats and heartache, can Charles reconcile with his estranged father and heal the wounds of the past, or will the shadows tear them apart forever? Charles Jordan and his mother, Sophia, shared a modest home in Dallas, Texas. Their life, though simple, was filled with warmth and mutual respect. When Charles was just 3 years old, tragedy struck: the sudden death of his father, Robert Jordan, in a mysterious accident. The loss devastated Sophia, but her resilience shone through as she dedicated herself to raising Charles with unwavering love and care. She worked tirelessly to provide for them, ensuring that Charles never felt the absence of his father. As Charles grew, so did his intellect and passion for technology. Sophia encouraged his interests, often staying up late to help him with his computer projects. Her support fueled his ambition, leading him to excel academically. Charles's hard work paid off when he earned a degree in computer sciences from a prestigious university. Shortly after graduation, he secured a promising job at a leading tech company, marking the beginning of what seemed to be a bright future. Despite his professional success, Charles couldn't shake the lingering questions about his father. The accident that took Robert had always felt incomplete, leaving gaps in Charles's understanding of his family history. Sophia had always been tight-lipped about Robert's past, focusing instead on building a stable life for them. This silence only deepened Charles's curiosity, but he respected his mother's wishes, pushing the questions aside as he focused on his career. One ordinary afternoon, during a routine health inspection at home, Sophia collapsed, clutching her chest in agony. Panic set in as Charles rushed her to the hospital. The diagnosis was grim. Sophia had suffered a severe heart attack. As doctors worked to stabilize her, Charles stayed by her side, holding her hand and praying for her recovery. Hours passed in the sterile hospital room, filled with uncertainty and fear. In her weakened state, Sophia mustered the strength to speak. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but the weight of her words was immense. She revealed a shocking truth that had been buried for years. Robert Jordan was still alive. Confusion and disbelief clouded Charles's mind. Sophia explained that Robert had never died in an accident, but had faked his death to escape his past. She had kept this secret to protect Charles, hoping to shield him from the complications that Robert's return might bring. Sophia went on to disclose that after the supposed accident, Robert had remarried without informing her or Charles. They had moved to Dallas, California, where Robert had built a new life, concealing his true identity. The revelation shattered Charles's perception of his family, leaving him grappling with feelings of betrayal and anger. 2 days after Sophia shared this devastating news, she passed away peacefully, urging Charles to find his father and seek the truth. Left alone and heartbroken, Charles felt a mix of emotions: grief for his mother and a burning desire to uncover the reality behind his father's disappearance. He vowed to honor Sophia's last wish, determined to confront the man who had abandoned him and learn the truth about his own identity. Little did he know, this journey would lead him down a path filled with unexpected challenges, secrets, and the potential for reconciliation. The weeks following Sophia's death were a blur of mourning and introspection for Charles. The loss of his mother compounded the shock of her revelation about his father, leaving him adrift in a sea of emotions. He spent countless nights revisiting memories of Sophia, recalling her strength and unwavering support. Her final words echoed in his mind, igniting a spark of determination that he couldn't ignore. One evening, as Charles sifted through his mother's belongings, he stumbled upon a worn-out journal. Its pages were filled with Sophia's thoughts and memories, offering glimpses into their past. Among the entries, he found references to Robert and hints about his father's true intentions. These fragments provided the clarity Charles needed, solidifying his resolve to seek out Robert and understand the truth behind his father's disappearance. Despite the stability of his job and the life he had built, Charles felt an irresistible pull to embark on this personal quest. The decision was not easy. It meant leaving behind the familiarity of Dallas and venturing into the unknown. However, the need for closure and the desire to reconnect with his estranged father outweighed his fears. He informed his employer of his decision, ensuring a smooth transition before setting out on his journey. Charles began by researching Robert's possible whereabouts. Using his expertise in computer sciences, he delved into online databases, social media platforms, and business directories. Days turned into weeks as he meticulously pieced together clues, uncovering that Robert had indeed relocated to California and established himself as a successful business tycoon in the tech industry. This discovery was both encouraging and daunting, as it meant Robert was no longer the man Charles once knew. The path to finding Robert was fraught with challenges. Charles faced numerous dead ends and false leads, each one testing his patience and resolve. Doubts crept in, making him question whether pursuing this quest was worth the emotional toll. Yet, the memory of his mother's unwavering determination kept him moving forward. He reached out to old acquaintances, hoping someone might have information about Robert's current life. One day, his efforts bore fruit when he uncovered an address linked to Robert's company. With renewed hope, Charles prepared to make contact. The anticipation was palpable as he scheduled an appointment to meet his father, a man he had never truly known. The day of the meeting arrived, and Charles felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. He dressed in his best attire, rehearsing what he would say and how he would present himself. As Charles approached the towering glass building that housed Robert's company, his heart raced. He entered the sleek lobby, feeling the weight of the moment. The receptionist directed him to the appropriate office, and after a short wait, he was led into a spacious conference room. There, seated behind a large mahogany desk, was Robert Jordan, a man who looked older, more accomplished, yet eerily familiar. Charles took a deep breath, summoning the courage to bridge the gap of years and silence. This meeting would be the first step in uncovering the truth, and perhaps healing the wounds of the past. Little did he know, the encounter would set in motion a series of events that would test his perseverance and redefine his understanding of family and forgiveness. Charles stepped out of his flight at Los Angeles International Airport, the warm California sun greeting him as a stark contrast to the chilly winters of Dallas. The bustling cityscape was both exhilarating and overwhelming. Tall skyscrapers, busy streets, and the constant hum of activity marked a significant shift from the relatively calm environment he was accustomed to. Despite the excitement, a sense of apprehension settled in his stomach. This journey was as much about self-discovery as it was about finding his father. He had arranged for a rental car, opting for the flexibility to navigate the sprawling city and its surrounding areas. Charles drove through the vibrant neighborhoods, each turn bringing him closer to the answers he sought. He spent hours researching Robert's business ventures, piecing together the intricate web of companies and investments that had made his father a respected name in the tech industry. The deeper he delved, the more impressed he became with Robert's achievements, though it did little to quell his desire for personal connection. Charles decided to visit the headquarters of Robert's flagship company, Jordan Technologies. The building was an architectural marvel, gleaming under the Californian sun. As he approached the entrance, he felt a mix of determination and nervousness. The receptionist, a young woman with a friendly demeanor, directed him to the appropriate office. Charles presented his credentials, hoping they would lend credibility to his quest. After a brief wait, he was escorted into a sleek office where Robert Jordan conducted his business. The CEO was a commanding presence, confident, articulate, and exuding authority. Charles introduced himself, feeling the weight of the moment. "Mr. Jordan, I'm Charles Jordan. I believe we need to talk." Robert looked up, surprise flickering across his face before being replaced by a guarded professionalism. "Charles Jordan? I wasn't expecting anyone today. Charles felt the tension thickening the air. I understand this is sudden, but I need to speak with you about my father. Robert's expression hardened slightly. My father passed away years ago, he stated firmly, a hint of defensiveness in his voice. Charles's heart sank. That's not true. My mother told me otherwise. She said you were alive and that you remarried and moved to California. Robert leaned back in his chair, studying Charles intently. I believe there's been some confusion here. My father did pass away in an accident when I was young. Are you sure about this information? Charles reached into his bag, pulling out the journal his mother had left him. My mother shared this with me before she died. Please, I need to understand what's going on. Robert glanced at the journal, then back at Charles, his expression softening just a fraction. I see. This is a lot to take in. Let's arrange a time to discuss this further. I need to verify some information before we proceed. Charles nodded, though his frustration simmered beneath the surface. I appreciate that, but time is of the essence. My mother's health deteriorated rapidly, and now she's gone. I need answers now. Robert sighed, a mix of exhaustion and resignation in his demeanor. All right, Charles. Let's set up a proper meeting where we can go over everything. I want to hear your side of the story. As Charles left the office, a flicker of hope rekindled within him. Despite the initial resistance, there was a possibility that the truth about his father could finally come to light. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, but his determination was unwavering. With each step, he moved closer to uncovering the mysteries that had defined his life for so long. Days turned into weeks as Charles awaited the scheduled meeting with Robert Jordan. He balanced his time between his job at his current company and his quest to connect with his father. Despite his best efforts, Robert remained elusive, often postponing their meetings with vague excuses about business commitments. Each delay chipped away at Charles's patience, fueling his frustration and determination to find another way to reach out. Charles's attempts to arrange face-to-face meetings were met with continuous setbacks. Emails went unanswered, phone calls were diverted, and appointments were repeatedly rescheduled. The more he pushed, the more distant Robert seemed to become. It was as if Robert was deliberately avoiding him, unwilling to confront the past that had resurfaced. One evening, after yet another postponed meeting, Charles sat in his car, feeling the weight of his mother's final wish pressing down on him. The city lights of Los Angeles blurred through the windshield as he contemplated his next move. He couldn't accept that Robert was completely unaware or uninterested in reconnecting. There had to be another way to break through the barriers that separated them. Driven by a mixture of desperation and resolve, Charles decided to take a bold step. He knew that infiltrating Robert's office without an appointment was risky, but he felt it was his only option. Utilizing his computer skills, Charles hacked into the company's security system, ensuring that his actions would remain undetected. With a determined heart, he made his way back to Jordan Technologies, ready to confront his father head-on. Navigating the building's corridors, Charles felt a surge of adrenaline. He avoided security cameras and navigated through restricted areas, his mind focused on the goal ahead. Reaching Robert's private office, he took a deep breath before knocking firmly on the door. "Mr. Jordan, it's me, Charles," he declared, trying to keep his voice steady. There was a tense silence before the door swung open, revealing Robert standing there with a mix of surprise and annoyance. "What are you doing here, Charles? This is private property." Charles stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "I need to talk to you. Please, just hear me out." Robert's eyes narrowed, assessing the intruder before him. "This isn't the place for personal discussions. What exactly are you trying to accomplish?" Charles felt the confrontation escalating, but he remained steadfast. "I know about the truth, about you being alive and the life you've built here. My mother told me everything before she died. I deserve to know why you abandoned us." Robert sighed, rubbing his temples in frustration. "Charles, you have no idea what you're talking about. My father, the man you call father, died in that accident. I have never remarried or moved to California." Charles's heart pounded in his chest. "Don't lie to me. I have proof from my mother. Please, just be honest." Robert's facade began to crack, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability beneath his stern exterior. "Look, kid, I understand you're hurting, but you're chasing ghosts. Your mother kept things from you for a reason." Charles took a step closer, his voice pleading. "I need answers, Robert. I need to understand who you really are and why you left us." Before the situation could escalate further, security guards arrived, alerted by the unauthorized entry. They moved to escort Charles out, but Robert held up a hand, signaling them to stop. "Let him stay," he ordered firmly. "We need to talk." Reluctantly, the guards withdrew, leaving Charles and Robert alone in the office. The tension in the room was palpable, both men standing on the precipice of a long-awaited confrontation. Charles sensed a shift in Robert's demeanor, a readiness to engage, albeit cautiously. "All right," Robert began, his voice softer now. "Let's discuss this properly. Sit down, and we'll see if we can make sense of all this." As Charles took a seat, the door to Robert's office closed, sealing them into a moment that could redefine their relationship forever. The stage was set for truths to be revealed, emotions to surface, and the possibility of reconciliation to emerge from the shadows of the past. The air in Robert Jordan's office was thick with tension, as both men settled into their respective chairs. Charles could feel the weight of the moment, knowing that this conversation held the key to unlocking years of mystery and pain. Robert leaned back, his expression contemplative, before breaking the silence. "Charles, I understand that this is difficult for you," Robert began cautiously. "But there are things about your mother and my past that you need to understand before we can move forward." Charles nodded, eager to hear his father's side of the story. "I'm listening." Robert took a deep breath, collecting his thoughts. "After the accident that was supposed to have taken my life, things became complicated. Your mother, Sophia, and I had our differences. She wanted stability while I was restless, always seeking something more. I made the mistake of believing I could start anew elsewhere without considering the impact it would have on you." Charles felt a surge of emotions: anger, sadness, and a glimmer of understanding. "Why didn't you ever come back? Why leave us without a word?" Robert's eyes softened, reflecting a deep regret. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I moved to California, thinking that distance would make it easier for both of us. I married again, believing it was best for my career and personal life. I never intended to hurt you or Sophia, but I realize now how wrong I was." Charles struggled to process the revelations. "So, everything I knew about my father was a lie? Why now, after everything?" Sophia's sudden illness and passing forced the truth into the open, leaving Robert with no choice but to confront the consequences of his actions. "Your mother was always protective of you, keeping secrets to safeguard you from the turmoil of my decisions. When she fell ill, she knew she had to reveal the truth, hoping it would help you find closure." Charles felt a mix of relief and resentment. Closure? All I felt was abandonment. I grew up without knowing my father, relying solely on your mother. Robert reached out, his voice tinged with remorse. "I understand your anger, and I take full responsibility for my choices. I've built a life here, and I never imagined it would affect you this way. But I'm here now, willing to make amends if you'll let me." The sincerity in Robert's voice touched something deep within Charles, but the wounds of the past were still raw. "It's not that simple, Robert. Years of absence can't be undone overnight. Trust needs to be rebuilt." Robert nodded, acknowledging the truth in Charles's words. "I know, and I'm prepared to do whatever it takes. Let me show you that I'm committed to being a part of your life now, if you'll allow it." Charles took a moment to absorb his father's words. The room filled with an uneasy silence. He saw the genuine remorse in Robert's eyes and felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the beginning of healing, the first step toward bridging the gap that had separated them for so long. "All right," Charles finally said, his voice steady but cautious. "Let's take it one step at a time. I want to understand everything. Why you left, how you've been, and where we go from here." Robert exhaled, a sense of relief evident on his face. "That's all I ask. Let's start fresh, build a relationship based on honesty and mutual respect." As they continued to talk, sharing stories and confronting painful truths, the foundation for a new chapter in their lives began to form. The journey ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in years, Charles felt a sense of hope that reconciliation was possible. In the weeks following their intense conversation, Charles and Robert began to navigate the complexities of rebuilding their relationship. They met regularly, discussing everything from their personal histories to their visions for the future. Slowly, trust began to take root, bridging the emotional chasm that had long separated them. Robert introduced Charles to the inner workings of Jordan Technologies, eager to share his world and involve his son in the family business. Charles embraced the opportunity, bringing his expertise in computer sciences to the table. His innovative ideas and technical prowess quickly made a positive impact on the company, earning him the respect of his colleagues and superiors. As Charles immersed himself in his work, he also took time to explore California, discovering the vibrant culture and dynamic tech scene that had shaped his father's success. He began to appreciate the opportunities that his father had pursued, understanding the motivations behind Robert's choices. This newfound perspective softened some of the lingering resentment, allowing space for forgiveness and understanding. One evening, after a productive day at the office, Robert invited Charles to dinner at his home. It was a significant gesture, symbolizing his commitment to fostering their relationship beyond the confines of business. The meal was a mix of casual conversation and deeper discussions as they shared stories about their lives, hopes, and regrets. "Your mother was a remarkable woman," Robert said thoughtfully. "She kept everything together while I was away. I don't know how she managed, but I'm grateful she did." Charles felt a pang of sadness and admiration. "She was my hero. Without her, I wouldn't be where I am today." Their conversations continued to grow more personal, delving into topics that had been long avoided. Charles learned about Robert's struggles and aspirations, while Robert gained insight into the challenges Charles had faced growing up without a father. This mutual understanding fostered a sense of empathy, laying the groundwork for a stronger bond. At work, Charles's contributions led to significant advancements in the company's software development. His innovative solutions and leadership qualities did not go unnoticed, and he was soon promoted to a key position within the company. This professional success mirrored the personal growth he was experiencing, reinforcing his belief in the potential for a positive future with his father. Despite the progress, there were still moments of tension and unresolved emotions. Robert sometimes struggled to balance his roles as a father and a CEO, leading to occasional misunderstandings. However, both men were committed to overcoming these obstacles, driven by their shared desire to build a meaningful relationship. One afternoon, as they worked side by side on a new project, Robert looked over at Charles with a sense of pride. "You've done incredibly well here, Charles. I'm glad to have you as part of the team." Charles smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment and belonging. "Thank you, Robert. I'm grateful for the opportunity and for your support." As the days turned into months, the bond between father and son strengthened. They began to share not just professional endeavors, but also personal milestones, celebrating each other's successes and supporting one another through challenges. Charles's integration into Jordan Technologies proved to be a turning point for both him and the company. His fresh perspective and technical expertise breathed new life into several stagnant projects, leading to the development of innovative software solutions that quickly gained traction in the market. The company's valuation soared, attracting attention from investors and industry leaders alike. Under Charles's leadership, the software division launched a groundbreaking application that revolutionized data management for businesses. The product's success not only boosted the company's revenue, but also solidified its reputation as a leader in the tech industry. Charles's name began to circulate within professional circles, earning him accolades and invitations to speak at conferences and seminars. Robert watched with pride as his son flourished within the company. He recognized the undeniable talent and dedication that Charles brought to the table, qualities that mirrored his own when he first started. This shared drive created a synergy between them, enhancing their working relationship and fostering a collaborative environment within the company. However, despite the professional harmony, the personal relationship between father and son remained delicate. Robert still struggled with the guilt of his past actions, and Charles grappled with the lingering feelings of abandonment. They both understood that healing would take time, and they were committed to being patient and supportive as they navigated this new dynamic. One evening, after a particularly successful product launch, Robert and Charles found themselves alone in the office, celebrating their achievements. The room was filled with the soft hum of the city's nightlife outside the large windows. Robert turned to Charles, a thoughtful expression on his face. "You've done an exceptional job, Charles. I'm proud of you," he said sincerely. Charles nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment. "Thank you, Robert. I couldn't have done it without your guidance and the opportunities you've given me." Robert hesitated for a moment before continuing. "I know there's still a lot we need to work through, but seeing you succeed like this makes me hopeful for our future together." Charles appreciated his father's honesty, feeling a sense of optimism. "I feel the same way. We're building something great here, not just for the company but for ourselves as well." Their conversation marked a significant milestone in their relationship, signaling a mutual understanding and willingness to move forward. They began to share more personal aspects of their lives, discussing their interests, values, and aspirations outside of work. This openness fostered a deeper connection, allowing them to appreciate each other beyond the confines of their professional roles. As the months passed, Jordan Technologies continued to thrive, expanding its reach and influence in the tech world. Charles spearheaded several key projects, each one more ambitious than the last, solidifying his position as a visionary leader. The company's success brought financial stability and opened doors to new opportunities, further enhancing their bond. Despite the outward appearances of success, both Charles and Robert remained grounded, mindful of the personal journey they were undertaking. They prioritized spending quality time together, balancing their professional responsibilities with their personal relationship. Whether it was attending family gatherings, sharing meals, or simply enjoying each other's company, they cherished the moments that strengthened their familial ties. The harmonious rhythm of Jordan Technologies continued to flourish, propelled by the innovative contributions of Charles and the strategic leadership of Robert. Their combined efforts not only elevated the company's standing in the tech industry, but also laid the groundwork for a deeper, more meaningful relationship between father and son. However, beneath the surface of their professional and personal successes, an unexpected crisis loomed, threatening to disrupt the fragile equilibrium they had achieved. One morning, Robert received a distressing call from his personal physician. He had been experiencing severe health issues, and after a series of tests, the diagnosis was grim. Robert's kidneys were failing rapidly. The doctor delivered the news with a sense of urgency, explaining that without a transplant, Robert's life was in jeopardy. The situation was dire, and the only viable option was to receive a kidney from a family member. Panic and disbelief washed over Robert as he grappled with the implications of the diagnosis. The idea of a family member donating a kidney was daunting, fraught with emotional and logistical challenges. He reached out to Charles, hoping that his son would step forward, but Charles was equally stunned by the news. He felt a mix of concern, fear, and helplessness, unsure of how to navigate this unexpected crisis. As the reality of his father's condition set in, Robert found himself at a crossroads. He had already been estranged from his extended family, making the prospect of finding a donor even more complicated. The company that had been his life's work now became a secondary concern to the immediate need for medical intervention. Robert contemplated the weight of his choices, realizing that his past actions had left him isolated in a moment of vulnerability. Meanwhile, Charles, torn between his professional responsibilities and personal fears, sought advice from trusted colleagues and medical professionals. The situation demanded swift action, but the emotional toll was overwhelming. He knew that the decision to donate a kidney was deeply personal and fraught with consequences, both for the donor and the recipient. As days turned into weeks, Robert's condition deteriorated rapidly. The hospital became his second home, with doctors emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Charles felt the pressure mounting, torn between his desire to help his father and the lingering resentment from years of absence. The complex emotions weighed heavily on him, making it difficult to decide the best course of action. In a desperate bid to save his life, Robert made a heartfelt plea to his family. He reached out to his half-siblings, children he had fathered during his second marriage in California, hoping that they might consider donating a kidney. However, his pleas were met with silence and hesitation. The extended family, unaware of their connection to Charles, struggled to reconcile the sudden request with their own lives and relationships. As Robert's health continued to decline, the doctors presented him with a difficult choice: undergo the transplant procedure with no guaranteed donor, or face the certainty of death. In a moment of profound desperation, Robert made a life-altering decision. Believing that someone within the family would act out of love and duty, he chose to proceed with the transplant, trusting that his children would come forward if needed. The surgery was scheduled, and the hospital prepared for the procedure with a mix of hope and apprehension. 2 days after the transplant, Robert regained consciousness, weak but alive. The first thoughts that crossed his mind were of gratitude and confusion. He wondered who had selflessly donated the kidney that saved his life. The hospital staff had respected his wish for anonymity, leaving Robert to ponder the mystery of his donor. Back at home, Charles received the news of his father's successful surgery. Relief washed over him, tempered by lingering questions about the identity of the donor. He reflected on the sacrifices his father had made, recognizing the depth of Robert's love despite the years of separation. This revelation stirred a renewed sense of responsibility within Charles, prompting him to seek out the truth behind the anonymous gift. As Robert recovered, the mystery of his donor lingered, casting a shadow of uncertainty over their already complex relationship. Charles felt a mix of gratitude and curiosity, determined to uncover who had performed the selfless act. Little did he know, the truth would lead him to a deeper understanding of his family's dynamics and the lengths to which his father had gone to ensure his survival. Robert's recovery from the kidney transplant was slow but steady. The hospital room became a space of reflection and contemplation, both for him and for Charles. As days passed, Robert's gratitude for the anonymous donor grew, but the identity of the person who saved his life remained elusive. He couldn't help but wonder who within his family had made the ultimate sacrifice for him, and this unanswered question gnawed at him. Charles, on the other hand, was consumed by a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. He spent hours by his father's bedside, watching him regain strength and piecing together the possible identities of the donor. He considered his half-siblings in California, but their lives were far removed from his own, and there was no indication they would come forward. The uncertainty was unsettling, but Charles also felt a sense of hope that someone in his family had acted out of love. As Robert continued to recover, he began to sense that someone within the family had stepped up to save him. The knowledge that a kidney had been donated without anyone coming forward suggested a level of selflessness that touched him deeply. Robert's thoughts often drifted to Charles, recognizing the possibility that his son might have been the one to donate, despite the years of separation and unresolved emotions. One afternoon, as Charles reviewed company reports in his office, he received a call from Robert. The conversation was brief, but filled with unspoken emotions. "Charles, your father is doing better. Thank you for everything." Charles felt a surge of relief and responsibility. "I'm glad to hear that, Robert. Is there anything you need?" There was a pause before Robert responded, "Just knowing you're here is enough for now." The call left Charles pondering the identity of the donor. He couldn't shake the feeling that his father was hinting at something deeper. Determined to find answers, Charles decided to revisit the hospital to speak with Robert in person. During one of his visits, Robert looked up at Charles with a mixture of gratitude and resolve. "Charles, I need to ask you something." Charles sat beside him, sensing the importance of the moment. "Of course, Robert. What is it?" Robert took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "Do you know who donated the kidney that saved my life?" Charles shook his head, frustration evident in his voice. "No, and I wish I did. It's been weighing on me." Robert reached out, placing a hand on Charles's shoulder. "I believe it was you, Charles. Only you would have the knowledge and the means to make such a sacrifice without revealing yourself." Charles's eyes widened in disbelief. "Me? But why would I?" Robert smiled gently, understanding the complexity of the situation. "Because despite everything, you care deeply about the company and the legacy we've built. I saw how dedicated you were, and I knew someone within the family would do anything to ensure my survival." The realization hit Charles like a tidal wave, emotions swirling within him. The selfless act of donating a kidney without seeking recognition spoke volumes about his character and the depth of his bond with his father. "I did it because I wanted you to live, Robert. Despite our differences, you're still my father." Robert's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Thank you, Charles. Your sacrifice means more to me than words can express." In that moment, the barriers that had long separated them crumbled, replaced by a profound sense of connection and mutual respect. Charles felt a weight lift off his shoulders, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose and belonging. The mystery of the donor had been resolved, unveiling the true extent of his father's love and the lengths to which he was willing to go for his family. The revelation of Charles as the anonymous kidney donor marked a turning point in their relationship. The selfless act had not only saved Robert's life, but also bridged the emotional divide that had long separated father and son. As Robert continued to recover, the atmosphere in Jordan Technologies shifted, reflecting the newfound harmony between its leaders. Charles and Robert began to spend more time together, both professionally and personally. They worked side by side on new projects, their collaboration now infused with mutual respect and understanding. The company's success soared as their combined efforts led to innovative breakthroughs, further cementing their status as industry leaders. Their partnership became a model of effective leadership, blending Charles's technical expertise with Robert's strategic vision. Outside of work, their relationship blossomed. They shared meals, attended events, and engaged in conversations that delved deeper into their lives and aspirations. Robert introduced Charles to his extended family, including his half-siblings in California, fostering connections that had once seemed impossible. These interactions helped heal old wounds and build a broader support network, enriching both their personal and professional lives. One sunny afternoon, as they reviewed the quarterly performance of the company, Robert looked up at Charles with a contented smile. "You've grown into an incredible leader, Charles. I'm proud of everything you've accomplished." Charles returned the smile, feeling a sense of fulfillment. "Thank you, Robert. I couldn't have done it without your guidance and the opportunities you've provided." Their bond was further strengthened by shared successes and the overcoming of past challenges. The company expanded its global footprint, launching products that revolutionized the tech landscape. Their leadership attracted top talent, and the work environment thrived under their combined stewardship. Employees admired the synergy between the two men, drawing inspiration from their story of reconciliation and collaboration. Beyond the boardroom, Charles and Robert explored shared interests, discovering common passions that had been overshadowed by years of separation. They took weekend trips, hiking through California's scenic landscapes, and enjoyed quiet evenings discussing books, music, and dreams for the future. These moments of connection deepened their understanding of each other, fostering a genuine friendship alongside their father-son relationship. As the months turned into years, the legacy of Jordan Technologies became synonymous with innovation and integrity. Charles and Robert continued to push the boundaries of technology, driven by a shared commitment to excellence and a desire to make a positive impact on the world. Their partnership was a testament to the power of forgiveness, perseverance, and the enduring strength of familial bonds. One evening, during a family gathering at Robert's home, surrounded by newly embraced siblings and extended family members, Charles felt a profound sense of belonging. The room was filled with laughter, stories, and the warmth of reunited family ties. Robert raised a toast, his voice filled with emotion. To family, new beginnings, and the bonds that hold us together. Everyone echoed the sentiment, glasses clinking in agreement. Charles looked around the room, feeling gratitude for the journey that had brought him here. From the pain of loss and abandonment to the joy of reconciliation and success, his life had been transformed by the love and resilience of those around him. As the evening drew to a close, Charles and Robert stood together on the balcony, gazing out at the city lights twinkling below. The skyline symbolized their achievements, but more importantly, it represented the bright future they were building together. "Thank you, Robert," Charles said softly. "For everything." Robert placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "Thank you, Charles, for your strength, your dedication, and your love. We've come a long way, and there's so much more ahead." In that moment, father and son embraced the promise of tomorrow, united by their shared past and the limitless possibilities of their future. Their story, once marked by tragedy and separation, had evolved into one of hope, success, and unwavering family ties, a testament to the transformative power of love and forgiveness.